And it was Bob Marshall. I know you read that article. I know I talked to Russell, the fish and wildlife guy. He's never written a political argument in his life. And he wrote the most real caustic article last week to say that we have caused this because of our deregulation and because we've just avoided any of this stuff. Can you believe Steve Scalise, Mr. Republican representative from Congress, who has always been pro-oil, anti-regulation, he's up there holding pictures in Congress of the oil on the seagulls. Imagine somebody like me, a liberal environmentalist, holding that up a year ago. They would have called me Mr. Environmental Wacko and get out of here, you know. And for years, we've heard about the tree huggers, spotted owl. But now a right-wing Republican senator can hold up that picture, and he's the man that's fighting for justice. And Bobby Jindal, you know, petting those hermit crabs and preying on those seabeds. 2 months ago, he was completely just pro-business, pro-oil, and the hypocrisy just reeks.
Oh, it makes you sick, man. And it's the same thing as David Vitter, you know, pounding the podium about family values, you know, and sending out letters to all of the town councils. He sent one to my little town, Madisonville, about marriage should be between a man and a woman and nobody else, and you're encouraged to adopt a resolution. Now, what the hell does Madisonville, Louisiana, care about, you know, unions and marriage? That's for the state and the federal government to talk about, you know. So, but then it comes out a little bit later that he's been, you know, running around with prostitutes.
Well, he also is against legalization of prostitution. He's also against sex education in schools, but he sure knew how to get his Wendy to use that prophylactic when he needed it. But, you know, back to the oil issue, David Vitter again, who comes out with his, you know, everybody's wearing the short sleeve open neck shirt like Obama now. They come down there and they go down, they look concerned, and they get down there, and David Vitter's right there listening. And then David Vitter the other day is saying, well, we're concerned about this spill. We want to clean, we want to do everything, but I'm sure you don't want to stop the way we get oil and the way we have our energy policy is not going to be altered at this time. Like, again, like there's something must be seriously wrong with you if you want to basically look at our energy policy and look at the way we are dependent on this kind of exploration, this unsafe type of exploration. And I'm all for oil and natural gas being done safely and properly. I think with regulation done the right way, it can be done well. It's just the way this wildcat, unregulated type of fast and loose, it really is reminding me of the West Texas guys that we want to get there fast. There's almost a bragging rights. If we can go down there and plug drill the oil and plug it up faster, we'll get the Transocean business. We'll get the business from BP later on. And that's the dirty secret they don't want to talk about. They want those guys to go down there fast.
Breaking news, listeners. The politicians are acting like hypocrites. I hope you're sitting down. Our politicians are acting like two-faced hypocrites.
Politicrits.
Well, you know,
look, I'm just trying to get over that, you know, myself. But Arla, I gotta honestly, you know, we're all watching the news, but I noticed over the last week, Morris Bart now has come out with, you know, if you get in a car crash, everyone, you know, knows that, you know, he wants you to call him, and now he's asking for, you know, people to call him that have had, you know, losses from this catastrophe. And it seems to me, if you'll excuse the expression, coming from an old shark, like a real Shark Tank out there if you're a claimant, okay? I mean, people, we had Dave's friend Lisa Hicks on earlier today, and she said, well, she had, you know, sustained, you know, her life was changed by the oil spill, and she felt depressed. What's the environment like for people that have claims? This ranges from everyone from maybe a guy that had a seafood processing factory that shut down to a person that feels depressed. I mean, what's your advice to claimants? Should they hang back? Should they seek out a lawyer? Should they join a class action? How can people navigate their way to have their damages taken care of from the disaster caused by British Petroleum? It seems like you got British Petroleum on one side, but then you got the Shark Tank on the other side. I mean, what's the wise course for a person that feels like they've sustained a loss here?
And that's a great question, because I think it's a little bit of both. I represent. I don't try to get the volume like a Morris Bart does, because I just don't feel like you can do people justice if you don't even know who they are, and if you don't even know, if everybody is a number. Well, this 100 people over here from this parish, I represent them. You haven't even met them. How do you represent them? So I don't go for volume, but I've told the ones that I do represent, they said, well, look, they got immediate help down there. And the word is, if you got a lawyer, I said, well, just tell them you don't have a lawyer then. Just go in there and just so long as it doesn't say payment in full, cash the check. I mean, they need the money.
Well, yeah, because I looked on, I went to British Petroleum's website, and they've got a number you can call if you want to, if you want to make a claim. And then I was thinking about the consequences of that in terms of what I understand as a lawyer and economist projecting, the present value of future losses and all the things that go into it that I think do require some special knowledge and skill, and how I really question whether BP is how they're handling the claims process. I haven't heard anything about people actually getting any checks from BP, individuals, for their damages. And at the same time, you're right. I mean, in other words, there's these people that go up and scoop up massive thousands and thousands of claims where they claim to quote unquote represent the class. That have been known to collect, huge fees. And again, I always go back to this, the cigarette people, because I'm still waiting for my check on that. And it seems like there's going to be room here for a lot of the regular family lawyer that knows the family business or that's been representing a contractor that's hurt by this, to really kind of step forward and take care of these people instead of being treated like just a member of a gigantic, sea of claimants.
Yeah. I really don't know. I think they're just setting up claims now, and it's just going to be, if they made everybody 100%, there's no way. I don't care what company it is. I don't think that there's any way you could do it. These guys make a lot of money per year, and there's a lot of them. Not only that, but you've got people, like I said, the truckers. I don't even think of those guys. You've got the restaurants, everybody who pays for seafood.
But BP has said they will honor all legitimate claims.
Yeah, they threw the word legitimate in there. That gives them a complete out. They just said, they could consider the guy who died on the rig to be non-legitimate. It just so.
Yeah, but do they consider people with depression, because of this?
I was about to say that I saw a picture of 4 generations of oyster shrimpers, a family, grandfather, father, and what's the emotional distress of knowing your livelihood, your culture, or your whole your professional, your whole family is now you can't do that anymore. And if you can prove that the damages on that you really can't do that, it's going to be a little difficult in terms of just where can you go or where can you actually do oyster stuff. We saw those oyster cases that were a little wild in St. Bernard after Katrina, that were thrown out based on just, which I thought some of the cases were valid, but I'm almost, I hate to sound conservative, but I'm almost in a wait and see pattern of how will we determine the damages to the estuaries, to the shrimping, to the industry?
Right. And these outfits that get thousands and thousands of claimants, they end up, I don't think a lawyer ends up handling much of it. They just ask you questions and put you on a grid.
Yeah, that's right. And you're going to have, and it's going to be like any other case. You pull out your tax information and, the boats that you own and the leases you have, and see how you've done over the years. And then however much you're going to lose, hopefully they're going to pay them for it. And that's what you need, really. And that's what I would say is, sooner or later you're going to have to find a lawyer. You ought to find one that has some maritime experience, I would think, because that's going to maybe come into play a little bit, but also one that can assemble the damages that you're going to have. And also, I would just counsel everybody out there to get together all of your damages together. For instance, your receipts. When you sell shrimp at the shed, or when you buy ice, or when you pay your deckhands, your boat note, anything, get it all together. And I've told all the people that I represent, get every piece of paper that you can find that would show any activity that you do together.